everybody to another video in our tutorial series on making an old style Asteroids game. In the last video we added bullets in that will travel across the screen and remove themselves when we're not using them anymore. In this video we're going to start adding in our asteroids. So let's go pick an asteroid here and let's just see what we've got here. So I'm just going to start with this asteroid that I've got in my large folder. Let's just see how big that asteroid is. And I'm going to check to see, it's got a corresponding medium asteroid. Okay, there's my medium one. And let's see what the small one looks like. These are all kind of made and numbered so that they're different sizes. So we have to decide now, are these a good scale for us? And I'm thinking that I might want this large one to be a little bit larger than it is, like maybe scale these up a bit. So what you can do is we're going to make some prefabs out of these, and so this large one here, if I look at its scale, what if I make it 3 times bigger? So you would just put 3's all the way across. Now that is a pretty large asteroid there, so we'll just kind of slide that up here. Let's look at this medium one. So if we do the same thing there, let's just scale them up by a factor of 3 and see if that looks a little bit more like what we might want to do. And again, depending on which asteroids you get, or if you make your own, you can make them whatever size. But I think I like this a little better, for we're scaling them up by a factor of 3. So I think we'll go with that for now. So we'll call this, let's rename these here. We'll call this asteroid large. Alright, let's call this, oops, I always want to spell asteroid incorrectly here. Need to make that a OID. Okay. And this one here we'll call asteroid medium. And let's make an asteroid small. Okay. And we're just going to start with asteroid larges here for now. But let's go ahead and make a folder down here for prefabs. It's always good to kind of organize things. And we're going to have several prefabs in our project. So we've already got a bullet that's a prefab. Let's drag him over into our prefabs folder. And then let's drag our asteroid large into the prefab folder, our asteroid medium, and our asteroid small. Let's just get those out there into the folder. Alright, and we're just really going to be working with asteroid large right now. We might not even do it like this, but I'm just going to delete these out for now. We're just going to work on our large asteroid here for the moment. So this asteroid is going to need a collider on him. So and a physics rigid body, because we're going to move these with the physics system and we want them to react to collisions with things. So let's go ahead and add a physics 2D rigid body 2D. Let's again take the gravity to 0, and then we'll leave the rest alone for now. Let's also add to him a 2D collider. Let's go ahead and use a circle collider because these do tend to be circular. And this time I'm going to add a collider, but I'm not going to make it a trigger. So let me double click the asteroid. So here's the collider. Now I actually drew it quite large. So let's actually go in here and drag this circle collider's radius down until it's just a little bit to the inside of the asteroid. So I kind of like to position these so that the farthest out, doesn't go outside the edge of the graphic, so when we run into it, it kind of actually looks like we hit it. So we will make this collider like that, and this time we're not going to make this a trigger. We're going to go ahead and leave this as basically a physical barrier that we would actually run into or bounce off of if we were to hit it. Okay, so we've got those set up. The other thing we're going to want to do is have a way of moving these asteroids around a little bit. So we're going to give the asteroid a script here, and basically whenever an asteroid is created, we're going to have it give itself a little push. So let's see if we're ready for that. I think we are. Let's go to our scripts folder here. Let's make a new C# script. We'll call this our Asteroid Script. Okay, Asteroid Script. We'll open that up in, let's actually attach that to our asteroid here real quick. Alright, and then let's open that up in MonoDevelop. Alright, in our asteroid script here, we are going to set up a few variables here. But really what we want to do here with our asteroid is we just want it to, when it comes into existence, to just go ahead and give itself a little bit of a push. So in the start function here, that's where we're going to use that. This is for initialization. This runs one time at the beginning. When this object comes into existence, it will run everything in the start one time. And let's see, we're just going to want him to give himself an amount of push on the X and the Y axis. We want that to be somewhat random. We also want him to give himself some torque so that he'll have some amount of spin, left or right or whatever. So what we want to do here is actually maybe set a few variables up that we can leave exposed in the inspector. So let's make public float for our thrust. So again, this is how hard we're going to push this object in a straight line. And let's also make one for our torque. So we'll just call this torque, or you could call it spin or whatever. But that's what we're going to do here. We'll have a float for that. And then what we'll do in the start function here is we'll have it fill those with an amount. So let's think this through here. Let's call this actually max thrust and max torque. Because what I want to use these for is to kind of be able to play with the settings. So we, out in the inspector, when we're testing it, we can test to see, well, how fast is too fast to move, how fast is too fast to spin or torque. So in the start function, what we're going to need to do is use these values for max thrust and max torque to generate some random numbers that we can then apply to our object. Now we're also going to need to have a link to the rigid body of this. So let's have a public rigid body 2D. And we'll call this RB. And we'll link that in as well. And then we should have what we need to get started here. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to add a random amount of torque and force, or thrust, I guess we're calling it, to the asteroid. Start with a random amount of torque. And what I'm going to need to do is pick a couple of random numbers that is going to control how hard we're going to push him on the X and how hard we're going to push him on the Y. So let's just make a temporary variable here. We'll just call this a vector 2, and we'll call this our thrust. And we'll go ahead and set that equal to a new vector 2. And then we can construct it here. So we need to now specify an X amount and a Y amount. And we're going to do that by using some random numbers. So I'm going to say random.range, which will generate me a random number between a minimum and a maximum value. The values I'm going to use are my max thrust and max torque. So my minimum value will be a negative max thrust, and my positive will be a positive max thrust. So that will actually put in thrust a negative amount. Now, vector 2 needs two pieces here. All of this just goes into the x. So I'm going to put a comma here, and now I'm going to put the y in, and the y is going to be exactly the same. So I'm going to just copy out this random.range and paste it back in here. And basically what I'm doing here now is I'm saying make me a vector 2, put in the x position this, which is going to be a float number that the computer generates between the negative max thrust and the positive max thrust. Then I'm going to tell it, do the same thing here for the y. Can generate me another number. So these will be two different numbers in between our, within our max thrust range. And then we'll have that all set. Okay. We're also going to generate a random number for our torque. So let's make a float for torque. And let's, sorry, that's QUE. And let's set that equal to a random.range. And the random.range this time is going to be based off my max torque. So again, I'm going to give it a negative max torque and a positive max torque. Like that. Alright, so that has generated me the numbers I want. Now I just need to apply them. So right here I'm going to say RB, which is going to be the rigid body of our asteroid here. And we're going to go ahead and do an AddForce command. And it's just AddForce instead of AddRelative force this time because I don't really care if it pushes it in its relative direction. It can push it on world coordinate system, that's fine. So this is a one-time push at the beginning, and then we're just going to let these guys go and bounce around all over the place. So the force I want to add is my thrust. See, it needs a vector 2. I made the vector 2 with the random numbers up there. So I'm going to add force some thrust. And then I'm going to do the torque as well. So we're going to do AddTorque. So let's just go down and select the AddTorque. And this takes a float number, and I just generated a float number I called torque, like that. Alright, so we're going to add some thrust and add some torque to this asteroid as soon as the game starts. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that for now. And let's go out and play with this in Unity and just see what happens. So make sure all these errors clear out. Okay, so here's my asteroid. Let's kind of go out here where we can see our scene view a little bit better. And we have to now specify a max thrust and a max torque. So let's maybe give it a max thrust of like 100 for right now, and a max torque of perhaps a 100. And let's just see what it does. And we also have to tell it what the RB is, the rigid body. So again, that's going to be the rigid body of my asteroid. So I'll just drag that down there. See, it says asteroid large, and it highlights itself up there. So when I hit play now, he should start moving and spinning. Let's move him a little bit more to the center of the screen here. Maybe we'll move my spaceship off here a little bit to the side so he's not in the way. And move this guy over here. Okay, let's just see what happens. And there you go. You notice how he is moving and rotating. Let's try again. He should go in a different direction. There, now he's moving down, he's rotating. Okay, so every time we push this, we should get a slightly different direction and amount of spin. Okay, and so far it doesn't seem to be too bad. That time he got almost no torque, and that's okay too. So alright, so I think that's okay for now. And again, if we wanted to pick bigger numbers, we can just add bigger numbers here. Like for instance, so we could put this up to 1,000 for torque, and he should occasionally spin really fast. See, now he's spinning really, really fast. But sometimes he'll spin really, really slow. So 1,000 was a little too much over the top. I think I'm going to keep that around 100. And we can just kind of test this out some as we go. But there is our asteroid having some random movement. Now, we want our asteroids also to have screen wrapping. So when these asteroids get off the edge of the screen here, we actually want them to come in on the other side. So we're going to have to add some screen wrapping to our asteroids as well. So let's go back into our script here, and let's add in the update function some screen wrapping type things, where we're checking every frame to see when the asteroid has gotten off the edge of the screen. Now, depending on their size, that's probably going to be a little bit different, but let's just get the move tool here. Alright, so on the top of the screen, the large asteroid, now the rest of, if they're going to be smaller, we can just use the same numbers for all of them. So the large one's off the screen at about a 12. Can we see him at a 12? Just barely. I think 12 is probably fine. So at around a 12, he should be off the screen. So that's 12 for top and bottom. If we move him back down here, on the other side, it looks like it's about a y of 16, or an x of 16. So y12, x16 are going to kind of be our numbers. So we can actually use the same system that we used from our spaceship. Matter of fact, let's go to the spaceship. Let's grab our variables here and copy them. Go back to our asteroid script. Let's go ahead and just paste those back in. We can use those same variable names, and then we can actually grab the wrapping code as well, so it's going to be the same. So let's just grab this wrapping code here, copy all that, and then our update function here will paste all that in. And all we have to do here now is just actually go in and fill in what the screen top, bottom, left, right variables are. We know this code already works from our spaceship, so let's just go put the right numbers in out here. So it looks like I copied bullet force as well. So let's go back in here. We don't need a bullet force variable. I got a little too many variables here. Let's just delete that out and save it. Alright, so I saved that. That should clear the bullet force out of there. We don't need that variable. There we go. The screen top should be 12. The screen bottom should be a negative 12. The left was a negative 16. And this is 16. Okay, let's go ahead and move him back down on screen. Okay, let's try that now. That should look a little better. So there he goes. And when he gets off the edge here, he should pop in that other side. Alright. And he's just kind of popping around the screen. He's kind of big, so depending on where he ends up going off the edge, it's a little unpredictable maybe where he'll come back in. But there you go. So he goes off one screen, he comes in from the other side. Okay, so we have screen wrapping working on our asteroids here. Okay, so we've got the asteroid giving itself some random spin and movement when he's created. We have him screen wrapping around and all of that. So now we have to make it so that the player and the asteroid and the bullets in the asteroid will start to interact with one another. So I believe we'll do that in the next video, for we'll get into making the collisions start to work with our asteroids. In this video, we created our asteroid, we set him up, and we got him kind of initializing himself. So thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying the video series on how to make an asteroids old school style game. As always, please leave comments and questions below, and I'll be happy to answer those. Hope you're enjoying this and that it's teaching you a lot. Thanks. Have a great day.